Hey everybody, it's GomletX and welcome back to the Arena Decathlon for event number 7, Bot Draft. The Arena Decathlon is a series of 10 events with the goal of acquiring Decathlon tokens from as many different formats as possible. We are 6 for 6 now, competing for Decathlon token number 7 in a Kamigawa Neon Dynasty bot draft. In this format, we'll be drafting 3 packs of Kamigawa with bots, so we will have unlimited time to make our decisions during the draft, and then we'll be competing with other players until we hit 7 wins or 3 losses. This is a phantom event, so we won't be keeping any of the cards we draft, just be using them for the duration of the event, but that's everything you need to know, so let's hop into the draft. Alright, here we have our pack 1 pick 1. We've got a pretty cool rare here, Invoke Justice, but it's a tremendously restrictive one for draft. It costs 4 white and 1 more to return a permanent from your grave to the battlefield, then put 4 +1/+1 counters wherever you want among your creatures and vehicles. So it is a very, very powerful card, but it is incredibly restrictive. It forces us to not only be white, but be tremendously heavy into white, as close to monocolor as possible to be able to cast this, ideally having a deck with at least like 12 planes. So it's tremendously restrictive. I would even argue it's more restrictive than like taking a 2-color card, pack 1 pick 1, which is something that's also a little frowned against unless it's a really powerful 2-color card. So I'm probably not going to just roll with Invoke Justice here, just because the odds of getting to run it are relatively low. We would have to just get lucky and make sure that the bots are just passing us all the white cards. We've got the safest picks in the pack, which are Kami's Flare and Lethal Exploit, just solid instant speed common removal spells. Not the greatest, definitely not the worst though. And then we have some uncommons here that are okay, but a little slow, like Replication Specialist and Goshintai of Hidden Cruelty. And then we have the card that I'm going to take, which is a little weird after just saying how restrictive Invoke Justice is, but I did also say I think Invoke Justice is even more restrictive than a 2-color card like Jukai Naturalist, and Jukai Naturalist is quite a powerful card for one of the strongest archetypes in the format if we can get into green-white. It's also a lot easier to potentially splash around with because we only need 1 mana of each color. So I'm going to go for Jukai Naturalist here over Invoke Justice. Again, tremendously powerful card, very similar to Invoke Justice in that manner, just at much different mana costs, much different like upfront power level. And I think Naturalist is just easier to end up in the deck. Alright, pack 1 pick 2 is right up my alley. We have 2 incredible uncommons that are really good for similar reasons. So Life of Toshiro Umezawa is tremendously good value up front, giving you that flexible ability on the first 2 parts of the saga and then getting a 2/3 out of this. So always a really good deal. If you kill a 1/1 like a Virus Beetle or a Spirited Companion and then put a 2/3 on board, you've already gotten a great deal off the card, or if you just gain 4 life and then put a 2/3 on board, that's also a great deal. So up front, great value, very similar to Gloomshrieker in that way. Getting a 2/1 menace and returning a permanent from your grave to your hand for only 3 mana is also tremendous value, but what's really busted about these cards in this format is that there are multiple mechanics that work really well with them. There are enchantments to help trigger any of your Enchantments Matters cards, but the most absurd things to do with these are to ninjutsu them back to your hand, to recast them again and get even more value off of the Enter the Battlefield effect or the first couple chapters of the saga. So really good for that reason. There's also a common Geothermal Kami in green that can just pick up any enchantment you control and put it back in your hand, so you don't even have to get in with one unblocked to bounce it back to your hand. So lots of ways to abuse these cards. I'm super happy to take either. I am going to go with Life of Toshiro Umezawa though. It's a little bit more open, a little bit more flexible, and honestly, in my opinion, pretty much just as powerful, so no real reason to go Gloomshrieker over the Life of Toshiro Umezawa, but those are both phenomenal uncommons. Not a ton going on here. Pick 3, the strongest card is Enthusiastic Mechanaut by quite a bit, but that is very far from what we're going towards right now for the blue-red artifacts deck. Outside of that, there's really just like Tamiyo Safekeeping and Season of Renewal, both being decent cards for any green deck. Pretty weak pack overall. Pretty happy to just take one of these green cards. They fill very different roles and they fill them both very nicely. The Safekeeping works as a combat trick or a counterspell for any kind of removal from your opponent, being able to give anything any permanent at all, Hexproof and Indestructible is great, and you get a couple life on top of that. And then Season of Renewal is a really good, very late game play to try to overwhelm your opponent with value, picking up your best creature and your best enchantment from your graveyard, putting them back in the hand. These cards are both really close in power level. They're also really close in terms of when we can expect them to wheel. So I'm actually really unsure about this one, but with two great enchantments to start it off, Season of Renewal can be a huge late game value play. So I'll go for Season of Renewal first. We would love to wheel the other one. Hopefully that'll happen, but we've got no guarantee here as we move into pick 4. Nothing phenomenal for our pack 1 pick 4. We have 3 cards here that are really comparable in power level. There's a second copy of Season of Renewal, there's a Repel the Vile, and there's a Blade Blizzard Kitsune. None of these are tremendously better than the rest, but they are better than the rest of the pack, but those 3 are all pretty even. There's also Ecologist's Terrarium, which is definitely an option when you go for 3-color, more splashy kind of stuff. That can be a pretty helpful card. I don't think I'm going to take a second Season of Renewal this early, so it's probably between Repel the Vile, Blade Blizzard Kitsune, and Ecologist's Terrarium. Big benefit of the Kitsune being the ability to potentially ninjutsu back a Life of Teshuru Umezawa or something like that. I think I'm just going to go with Ecologist's Terrarium. It's a card that can be fine in anything we play, even if we're just 2 colors. It won't be exciting there, and it'll be pretty helpful if we're 3 colors. So I'll go for Terrarium here. Alright, pack 1, pick 5. There is one card that stands above the rest in this pack by a lot, and that is Okiba Reckoner Raid. This is the strongest common in the set, I believe. Might be incorrect. It could be like Imperial Oath, but it is definitely up there. One of the strongest cards in the whole format. It is 1 mana to drain your opponent for 2 life, so they lose 2 life, you gain 2 life. And then you get a 2/2 Menace. All of that for only 1 mana is absurd. The card synergizes tremendously well with Ninjutsu because it has Menace, and then you get to recast it, make your opponent lose even more life. It's just a ridiculously efficient deal for only 1 mana. It's also an enchantment for stuff that cares about that. Card is tremendously good. It is really just competing with Enthusiastic Mechanaut, and I think it's better than that card. Nothing else really stands close, so we'll take the Okiba Reckoner Raid here. Pack 1, pick 6, we have one of White's best commons, the Spirited Companion, a 2-mana 1/1 that draws you a card when it enters the battlefield. Great card to ninjutsu, great card to pick up with anything else, just a super good value play. Probably going to be the pick for me here. We're not really tied to any specific colors yet, but bouncing between white, black, and green seems to be where we're at. So Spirited Companion, pretty solid here. Mukotai Ambusher is a decent ninjutsu card if we want to just slam those down immediately, but Spirited Companion has enough upside to go for that over the Ambusher here. Silencer is also an okay ninjutsu card, but I honestly just prefer like the Mukotai Ambusher generally. We'll take a Spirited Companion here. Moving into pick 7. Got a few decent options here for some pretty different decks. Prodigy's Prototype is probably the strongest card in the pack, but moving into blue-white vehicles at this point would mean the only card we've taken we get to play is like Spirited Companion, maybe Terrarium. So it'd be a little hard to push in that direction, and these other couple cards aren't that much weaker. There's Clawing Torment for really aggressive decks, this is nice. Shutting off your opponent's creature's ability to block and also making them lose a life every single turn can be a really, really good deal for aggro decks. So it's pretty good in like blue-black ninjutsu, black-red, sacrifice/artifacts, that kind of stuff. Don't know if it would be a perfect fit here right now. And one card I really like in the green-white enchantments decks is the Bamboo Grove Archer. This gives you an early game blocker that's going to be really annoying for ninjutsu kind of decks. You get to stop their early aggro. It's really hard for them to chip in. Usually their game plan in the early turns is to play a cheap little flyer and then attack in, ninjutsu something out early for good value, and go from there. The Bamboo Grove Archer is pretty good at stopping that with 3 toughness and with reach. Also, pretty importantly, it's also a pretty good draw late game, giving you main deck flying hate, letting you discard that to blow something up. So I'm going to go with Bamboo Grove Archer here, maybe towards green-white. We have Season of Renewal, Naturalist, and Companion towards green-white already, and that's definitely an archetype that can do some splashing with cards like Ecologist's Terrarium, so it's possible we get to play every single card we drafted and be like green-white-black enchantments here. Pretty awkward pick 8 for us, since the strongest card by far is Oni Colt Anvil. I haven't seen a ton in red that's been great, but that's just because it's kind of the weakest color in the format. Seen one or two Kami's Flare early in the draft, but other than that, it's been a bunch of Mechanauts, which tie us to blue and red. I might just take that here, because if we're going to take something that's remotely on color, it's probably just an Inkrise Infiltrator, which is pretty good with Ninjutsu. We already have a lot of cards that are good with Ninjutsu. We want to bounce Reckoner Raids, Companions, and Life of Toshiro Umezawa's, so we don't really need more cards that are mainly in here to get bounced to Ninjutsu stuff. So I think I'll take the Oni Colt Anvil here. I don't think it's going to pan out, but we're not missing out on a whole lot by scooping that up, and we are pretty happy to see a Tamiyo's Safekeeping wheeling to us, pick 9, and I'll scoop that up pretty easily, not too much else in the pack. We now have a pick 10 Uncharted Haven versus Roadside Reliquary, also a very late Network Disruptor. Wow, these are 3 really good options. So Network Disruptor is going to work excellently in a blue-black Ninjutsu deck if we push in that direction. These lands will work excellently in any deck we make. The Reliquary is a colorless land, but you can cycle it into some card draw later in the game. Draw 1 or 2 cards, depending on if you control an artifact and or an enchantment. And then Uncharted Haven is just perfect mana fixing, just whatever color you need when you play it. I think with the way that our deck looks right now, bouncing between all these colors, I should probably just take Uncharted Haven and be happy to have it in whatever deck we roll with. But see an argument for pushing towards ninjas, seeing that Disruptor that late. And we do get another Tamiyo Safekeeping. This is the one that was in the pack with the Season of Renewal, so pretty good sign to see that wheel this late. It's definitely the best card in the pack. Once again, Season of Renewal wheeling this late, that's the best card in this pack. So I think we're pretty okay to be in the colors that we're in. Just a little weird. Sometimes it's hard to read the bots in bot draft, but we're getting past good green stuff late, and I guess good blue stuff as well, with a Suit Up and a Network Disruptor being passed late. But a pick 14 Season of Renewal is really, really good in the grinded out kind of green-white enchantments deck, so pretty happy to be in the archetype we're in, even though we're seeing some other great stuff as well. And now for pack 2, pick 1, we open up 2 incredible uncommons, but there's one that's a little bit better for our archetype. I'm going to go for Boseiju Reaches Skyward. This is 4 mana to get 2 forests from your deck, put them into your hand. Part 2 of the saga doesn't really do anything, but then you get a gigantic reach creature that is going to be the biggest creature on the board easily. This is really good in the green-white enchantments archetype because you have tons of ways to recur it and protect it. We already have 2 Tamiyo Safekeepings to protect this card from removal, and 2 Season of Renewals to pick it back up from our graveyard, so we are in the perfect position to use the Branch of Boseiju as a major finisher to kind of end our opponent's life. There's also Spinning Wheel Kick here. This is the other super sweet uncommon. It's potentially like a one-sided board wipe if you get to really high mana cost, which is super huge, but it is not as pivotal to our deck or our archetype as the Boseiju is. High-Speed Hoverbike's also a nice flexible uncommon. This is a really good pack in general, but I'm happy to take Boseiju Reaches Skyward. Alright, we have a bunch of fine cards in this pack. A fourth copy of Season Renewal. I don't think I'll play 4. Dokuchi Silencer for our first Ninjutsu card. Befriending the Moss for another decent saga here. And a High-Speed Hoverbike for a flexible little card. But I think I'm just going to go with Blossoming Sands. I don't think any of these non-land cards are super exciting to me, so being able to just take a pick off here to make sure that our mana base works a little better, make it easier to splash in some stuff if we want to do that, seems like a solid place to be. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop up a Blossoming Sands here. Excellent pickups here for pack 2, pick 3. I'd love to wheel this Era of Enlightenment. It's a great saga. 2 mana, you get to scry 2, then gain 2 life, then get a 2/2 first strike. Great deal there, but there's also a Touch the Spirit Realm, and we don't really have any removal yet, so having this in the deck is going to be beautiful for us, and that'll easily be the pickup out of this pack. Pack 2, pick 4, we have a Gonjo Exemplar, which isn't the greatest. It's basically just a 2/1 in this deck. Does attack as a 3/2, but not super great outside of the Samurai deck. I think I'm just going to take the Tales of Master Sashiro, another just large game-ending kind of saga creature. Turns into a 5/5 with Vigilance. Really does take over games, and it's a great card to pick up again with our triple Season of Renewal. Here we are in Pack 2, Pick 5, and there's not a ton going for us in terms of these commons. Brute Suit is a decent way to use your cards like Spirited Companion, because then you can crew solid-sized creatures, solid-sized vehicles with your tiny creatures. Also Moth Rider Patrol, which is okay. And there's Satsuki, which is generally not really a good rare at all. She doesn't really do much of anything. However, pretty fun, and we're not really passing up on anything here. So she's going to be a 2-mana 1/3. The ability to tap and put a lore counter on each saga we control doesn't do too much, but the ability to go ahead and pick up a saga from our graveyard, put it back in our hand when she dies is kind of valuable. So I'll go with Satsuki here. Again, she is not anywhere near your average rare's power level. She's probably weaker than even just taking a patrol or a brute suit generally, but for this deck, she'll be the most fun card, so I'll scoop her up here. Here we have a Bearer of Memory, which I think is a decent card for the archetype. It gives us a good mana sink if we get into the late game with not a lot to do, and it's a fine filler creature in the mid-range. Not too much else going on in the pack. There is some incredible stuff in this pack. We're really unhappy to see it all clumped up here, but some great options. So the 3 tremendously good options here are Generous Visitor, putting a +1/+1 counter on one of our creatures every time we play an enchantment, the Geothermal Kami, letting us pick up an enchantment and recast it, and the Fade into Antiquity, to exile an artifact or enchantment as decent removal. We don't really have a ton going on early game yet, so I think I want to take the best early game play, which is the Generous Visitor. It's also really explosive for this kind of archetype. Can just put a lot of counters on your board, but I am really sad to pass up Geothermal Kami, and kind of sad to pass up Fade into Antiquity as well. So again, sad to see these all clumped up. We love all 3 in the deck, but Generous Visitor is just the kind of mechanic, the kind of card that I think is the least replaceable of them all. It's super sweet in the early game. Well, things are a little bit wild here, seeing a pick 8 Okiba Reckoner raid. Thinking we were probably going to be green-white, maybe splash the black, but we technically only have 4 white cards total, 2 of which are green-white, so seeing an Okiba Reckoner raid pick 8, maybe we end up in green-black splash the white. It's really only competing with a 4th copy of Season of Renewal. Not that impressive when we've already got 3, and a Sunblade Samurai, which is decent. But Okiba Reckoner Raid's just so good. I'm going to take it here, and we still have that possibility of being green-black splash white instead of green-white splash black. Again, we've seen a million copies of Season of Renewal and Tamiyo Safekeeping, so it feels like we're going to end up with way more than we could possibly play. So I'll just take the Sunblade Samurai here, so we have that as an option. There's another Sunblade Samurai versus the 4th Season of Renewal, but again, this pack has seen like 1,000 of these, so I'll take another Sunblade Samurai. Not much going on here. We'll slap a Lucky Offering into the side. Not much here. And probably nothing else until pack 3. Alright, moving on to pack 3. Well, in terms of good green-white enchantment stuff, pack 3 is a complete bust, but our rare is actually pretty good and can fit into any deck. It's a nice little card draw engine, similar to one of my favorite uncommons in draft in the past, the Sunset Pyramid. It's a 2-mana artifact that for 2 mana we can tap it, draw a card, and remove a charge counter from it. It comes with 3 charge counters, so this is going to be 3 card draws by the time we're done with it, and then at that point we get a 1/1 pilot to crew this thing that then crews it into being a 4/4. So Bankbuster, very solid little value card for pretty much any deck. Definitely better in the more grindy, mid-rangey sort of decks, which looks like where our deck is. So Bankbuster should be pretty good in here. Taking it over Assassin's Ink, which would be good if we end up in green-black splash white, but Bankbuster's just very good. Speaking of cards that are very good, we have a little bit of a pick here. We've got another Boseiju Reaches Skyward versus another Spirited Companion. It's also another solid green common, the Jukai Preserver. I think we gotta just take that Boseiju Reaches Skyward card. It's just absurd, especially again with that triple Season of Renewal double safekeeping. It's also in the only color that we know is the core color of the deck, so Take that Boseiju reaches skyward. Sad to pass up on the good boy, but still an excellent card that we get out of that pack. 3 cards mostly competing here. Jukai Preserver as another very solid filler creature. Fade into Antiquity as some filler removal. And an Uncharted Haven for more mana fixing. I think yet again we are pretty tremendously low on removal. We just have that Touch the Spirit Realm mostly. So just having a Fade into Antiquity, even though it doesn't kill any flesh creatures, it only kills enchantments and artifacts, is going to be a little better for our deck. It's what we're missing out on more. Although I do only have 8 creatures, but that's not counting our multiple sagas. 1, 2, 3 minimum. That's if we're not playing black. So we have like 11 creatures. Yeah, probably doing pretty good on that front. I'm going to take the Fade into Antiquity here. Alright, 3 pretty excellent options for us here, but one does stand above the rest. Imperial Oath is an absurd late game play. A 6-mana sorcery that gives you 3 2/2s with Vigilance, and you scry 3. Again, I mentioned this in most videos, but almost every video I get a comment about it. The cards being cut off on the left-hand side is an Arena bug right now. It used to make sure they were always contained within the screen, but there's nothing I can do about that. When you hover over cards, sometimes they just cut the full text off on the left-hand side of the screen right now. But yeah, 6 mana, 3 2/2s Vigilance, and Scry 3 is a huge late game play. Clutters up the board and completely stabilizes you against almost anything. And Scry 3 is very powerful on turn 6 because any lands in the top 3 are going to be completely useless once you already have 6 mana. So it's kind of like a draw 1 or 2 cards because you're often going to be scrying away 1 or 2 lands and digging to your next good late game play. So Imperial Oath is just absurd. It's competing with a Careful Cultivation here, which would be nice for our deck. You can kind of disregard the whole aura part of this card and just consider it as 2 mana, instant speed, get a 1/1 that taps for a green, which is basically a better version of one of the uncommons in the set. That's just like a 2 mana 1/1 that taps for a green. So solid little ramp card here. Definitely would be fine in the deck. Synergizes really well with Season of Renewal as well, because you can just always channel this and know you've got a decent enchantment to pick up later. And then there's like a Lethal Exploit we could splash in for removal, but we'll go for Imperial Oath. Card is absurd. Speaking of cards that are absurd, we now have an Azusa's Many Journeys. This is 2 mana to get an additional land drop, gain 3 life, and then get a 3/3. Again, it is a saga, so you don't have the 3/3 out on turn 2, but getting a 3/3 eventually for a mana commitment of only 2 mana, still a very good deal, and we're happy to take that. Feel like our deck is starting to shape up to be more than solid enough without the black splash that we can probably stick to just green-white and not have to spend any extra picks on fixing, because we already have Blossoming Sands plus Uncharted Haven here in that direction. And for that reason, I'm going to go for Era of Enlightenment over these 2 good mana fixing lands. It's another great early game saga. For 2 mana commitment, you're getting to scry 2, gain 2 life, and get a 2/2 first strike. Again, an excellent deal. And one of our spots in the curve where we're most worried about right now is good early game plays, and this definitely adds to that list. So I'm going to go ahead and do some deck building real quick. Because we have an infinite amount of time during the draft, we can kind of build our deck as we go and see what we really need more than anything. So we currently have a 25 card deck with two lands in it, which means that we have a full deck. Your deck is always going to be 23 non-land cards and 17 lands on average. So we have an entire deck here. So every pick we take from now on should be focused on like cutting another card, making our curve a little better, making our deck a little better throughout the curve. So probably Terrarium would be the first cut here. So if we cut Terrarium out of here, let's go ahead and sort our creatures versus non-creatures. We've got a great looking creature curve now when you consider all those 2-drop sagas that we've picked up lately. Looks like we want more filler 3/4 mana stuff. Ideally, nothing like that we can pick up in this pack. We could grab another Sunblade Samurai, or we could take a Harmonious Emergence. Generally a bit of a bigger fan of the Harmonious Emergence as a 5 mana 4/5 Vigilance Haste, a bit bigger than the Samurai. Doesn't have the flexibility of being able to pull planes out of our deck, but still a very strong card that I'm happy to scoop up here. We're taking it over Roaring Earth as well. This card has just been a little unimpressive to me. I've never found it to be super great, but if you set it up early, you are getting a counter on everything you play, and then if you just draw it late game, you get a big old XX. So it's fun, but I think I'll just like Harmonious Emergence better. Now we can cut that Terrarium. Nothing in here is going to make the cut. It's a Kitsune Ace and a Debt to the Kami. Both are just not good in here. Pick 9, we now have a Grafted Growth that I will not play, a Shrine Steward that I will not play. Although now I do have an Aura. We can search for our Harmonious Emergence off of this card. But yeah, nothing in this pack is really going to make the cut. I guess I'll take the Shrine Steward. Pick 10, we have an Heir of the Ancient Fang for a filler 3-mana creature if I really want my curve to be better, which I guess is the pick here. Favor of Jukai is like an okay little combat trick sort of thing, but let's take that. It looks like we're probably not going to get any more playables for the rest of the draft, unfortunately, but the deck already looks pretty sweet. So we will just scoop all of the on-color stuff up. I actually do like Commune with Spirits. This card's pretty sick in this format in the green-white enchantments deck, because this is a card that you can run instead of your 17th land, because as long as you have a green source, you can just spend a green mana and turn this into whatever land it would have been anyway. That way you get to run a deck with a lower land count so that you flood out less often without any of the downsides, because again, anytime you would have needed this to be a land, you can just turn it into a land at a very cheap cost. So it's a pretty excellent card in this kind of deck, actually. So very happy to see that pick 14. It's not like excellent in that I would take it incredibly highly, but it is excellent to see it pick 14 because it is an auto include, in my opinion. Alright, so I could still get a little fancy with the mana. I could still put Terrarium in, put in like Life of Toshiro Umezawa would be an okay splash, but we don't really want to splash in 1-mana cards like Reckoner Raid, where the big value of them is being able to play them turn 1, 2, or 3, because we can't guarantee that. But yeah, I don't think we're doing any splashing here. Just stick to green-white, which means all we need to do is cut a land, because I've got that Commune with Spirits here as the 17th land. And then we just have a deck, and it looks like a pretty solid one. So let's see what our mana looks like. We have 17 green cards and 8 white cards. I have 2 Sunblade Samurai to be able to find plains for me. I have Blossoming Sands and Uncharted Haven that can be either color. I think I am dropping a plains here, because the other thing is I have Commune with Spirits. In order to Commune with Spirits into a land, I obviously need to have the green source to cast this. So not only do we have a lot more green cards than anything else, we have Boseijus wanting us to have extra forests in our deck by the time these are cast. We have Commune really wanting us to have the green source turn 1. So cut the plains, keep the forest there. Go for an 8-6 split. Seems pretty good to me. And I think that's going to be the deck. Alright, here's a look at the completed deck list that we'll be playing today. It's going to be a very sweet green-white enchantments deck that can grind it out with the best of them. We have tons of 2-drops to always be slamming some stuff on the board early. A majority of them are enchantments. The only one that isn't is our Satsuki the Living Lore. So cards like Generous Visitor get a ton of value, getting a ton of +1/+1 counters all over the board. Cards like Jukai Naturalist make almost all of our spells cheaper, and we've got some huge late-game stuff after the early onslaught of just 2-drops. We have a couple Boseiju Reaches Skyward to be a very large branch of Boseiju to finish the game. We've got a Tales of Master Seshiro as a big old 5/5 Vigilance Haste. We got some 4/5 Vigilance Hastes with Harmonious Emergence, some 4/4 Vigilances with the Sunblade Samurai, and some great ways to protect those. So resolve some kind of big branch style threat, protect them with some safekeepings, or use our 3 copies of Season of Renewal to grind out the long game. Picking up a big saga and a big creature, recasting those in the late game can be huge, can be absolutely pivotal. We've got great card draw from Reckoner Bankbuster. We have a couple removal spells. That is the biggest flaw in this deck. It's relatively low on interaction. We only have 1 Touch the Spirit Realm and 1 Fade into Antiquity. So that's the only real flaw, I think, with this deck. Outside of that, we have all our bases covered. We have great early game plays, we have great late game plays, and in the mid-range, we can dirtle around drawing some extra cards, or just cast more early 2-drops. So we really know what we're doing throughout the game here, and hopefully it'll pan out well for us, as long as we're not against any super big bombs that we don't have removal for. I think this deck can function pretty well, so we'll see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are in game 1 with a definite keep, and the reason is our Commune with Spirits is really going to show off its power level here. The only way that we're going to get punished here is if there was no white source in the top like 13 cards of our deck. Because we get to commune to dig 4 cards deeper. That's 11 cards already. Actually 12 because I just drew a land. And it looks like we naturally just hit the white source, so we won't be communing turn 1 here. But that was going to be the plan if we didn't hit a white source, was to just commune, try to find it. And if we didn't, then, you know, so be it. That just means we got real unlucky there, because we would be able to dig like 13 cards deep by the time we need the white source there. So I am against black-red, which could be an issue here. That is the color pair with the most cheap removal. Our only good play here is Jukai Naturalist, and we do have to cross our fingers a bit and hope they don't have removal, so we can slam down our Boseiju Reaches Skyward as quickly as possible, because otherwise they are on a very aggressive start with turn 1 Simian Sling into turn 2 Tawashi Songshaper. If we ever block the Sling, we'll take a damage anyway, and they can reconfigure it to give another equipped creature that ability. And the Songshaper is getting an additional power every time an artifact enters the battlefield under their control. So yeah, they're just going to curve out here, hit us really hard. I'm unfortunately going to have to just take this 3 to guarantee that I can Boseiju next turn, so I have that gigantic blocker as quickly as possible. I'm going to play my plains first, because Boseiju is going to be revealing 2 forests here, so I'm going to want to just play 2 forests these next 2 turns. But now that I've got that, and I only have 1 other enchantment in the hand, I am 100% okay with trading off my Naturalist into their Songshaper or their Centipede here to gain some life. Because if I can make this game last long, that is where our deck really benefits, and our deck can absolutely win a long game. We just need to make sure we don't lose to some early aggro. If this is a game that's going to take more than like 11 turns, then we're pretty much guaranteed to win. You know, if we don't die early, it's going to be really hard for us to die at all with Season of Renewal type late game plays and gigantic branches and stuff like that. So we need to be just really focused on surviving the initial turns at whatever cost. We have plenty of ways to grind out a long game. Alright, taking a big hit from the Centipede. I'm going to have to exile that here with our Touch the Spirit Realm to put them down to just the 1/1 Sling, hopefully. Nope, an Inkrise Infiltrator as well. That is a super bad deal for us, because the Inkrise Infiltrator is going to hit us even if we get some blockers down. Once we flip the branch, we can block the Infiltrator with the branch if they don't have removal for it. So I think I probably still have to touch the Spirit Realm to exile the Centipede here. Let's go ahead and see what we hit off our Commune with Spirits. We could hit a different enchantment creature to be trying to block with. Another Boseiju. It's going to be slow, but it's going to be huge. I feel like maybe I'm supposed to take the Samurai instead. We definitely have to play Touch the Spirit Realm this turn, and I just need immediate blockers. I already have Season of Renewal to redo the Boseiju later if it does die. Turn 5, I could play Bankbuster plus Season of Renewal. But I'm going to need to just play another blocker if they kill my stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to grab the next blocker. Play it really safe here again. The Branch is the stronger card if I know I can make it to the long game, but I need to be making every play right now. Assuming that I can't. Just make every play right now the best play towards surviving right now in the immediate future. And we might just need to slam down a blocker next turn, which we can't do if I don't pick up the Samurai. If I just play a Boseiju next turn, it's not going to be a blocker, it's just going to be an enchantment sitting there for a couple turns. So we'll take the Samurai, get ready to slam that down next turn. If they are going to ninjutsu us here. The other thing the Sunblade Samurai can do is gain a couple life by channeling it. Okay, we are down to 7 after that ninjutsu. That's brutal. So really hoping for no removal for the branch here. This is going to be a 5/5 branch. I could play Bankbuster plus hold up Season of Renewal. And then if they try to kill the branch, I crew the Bankbuster Then I pick up the branch and the life linking thing. Also Bankbuster plus Era. Feels safest to just play the Sunblade Samurai here, honestly. I'm not going to have a good block for the Shadow Walker no matter what I do. Because I want Branch to be able to block the Infiltrator, really. Yeah, this is just rough, just super aggressive stuff from our opponent. Yeah, I think I have to just play the Samurai and pass here. They blow up Branch, I still have a chump blocker. So I could play a Sling, throw the Sling on the Shadow Walker, and I have to double block here. That's what we know they have in hand. Clawing Torment. Alright, I guess we lose. That is not only removal for Branch, but it doesn't even technically kill it, so it's just going to be on board, making us lose life. Yep. Just a tremendously powerful aggro deck from our opponent, even the Ogre to shut off the blocker. Brutal game there. Opponent just went 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop, and never stopped. That is how aggro be in best of 1. Moving on to game 2. This is a horrible mana, so we gotta mulligan this. This is just as bad. Some brutal luck these first 2 games. And we had solid luck the first game. Our opponent just had a great deck, but these are some really bad hands here. I definitely have to keep the Era to try to scry to the green source. I guess safekeeping's not going to get played for a century here. We'll keep the Samurai, because the Samurai can grab the planes to get towards the Imperial Oath late game. Alright, we immediately hit the Forest, that's fine. We are trying to get to 6 mana with this hand. Playing against white, black this time. Drop an Air of Enlightenment and scry 2. Grab a Touch the Spirit Realm. I already have 4 mana. I'm trying to get to 6 though. 4 mana guaranteed. I can cycle Samurai into the 5th. I don't think I need to grab that land immediately. I have several turns to draw 5th and 6th land. Alright, looks like no great early aggro here, so we are really just chilling, just vibing. Again, this is the kind of deck where if we're not under a ton of pressure early game, if we don't just die real fast like we did in game 1, we should be able to take over and win almost any long game. There's a Goshintai of Hidden Cruelty. I'm pretty happy to go ahead and exile that here. Right. Suppose we don't need to exile it unless they play another shrine, because right now it can only kill 1 toughness stuff, which we don't really have in our deck. They stack up another shrine with it though, that'll be pretty scary. I might want to keep Touch the Spirit Realm though, so I can kill a flyer if they eventually have one. As long as they don't play a flyer, we're pretty good here. They play the white Goshintai this turn though. That's about the only play that would make not Touch the Spirit Roaming there pretty bad. Okay, so they're going to make me exile my 2/2. That's cool. That is fine by me. We'll take 3 damage. Drop our Sunblade Samurai next turn. We're only down to 16 and we've got 5 mana up, so it feels like a great position here. And I have the 6th land to play Imperial Oath next turn. This is going to be a phenomenal turn for us. Alright, repel the file, go for it. Still only taking 3 damage on board. And take these hits, and Imperial Oath is really hard for them to get rid of with just 1 spell. They would need the -2/-2 to all creatures spell. So let's go ahead and Oath here. Get rid of the land. Commune with Spirits is basically a land. We'll just draw Boseiju here. Play that next turn. I could play Boseiju and Touch the Spirit Realm if I need to. Yep. And if I'm going to just draw Boseiju and play it next turn, then it doesn't really matter what else I put on top, because I'm going to shuffle it away by casting Boseiju. So I think that's probably the line. Boseiju, maybe Touch the Spirit Realm as well, because we will have the mana to cast both next turn after I pick up my forests. Snap block. That was a pretty great deal. 1/3 of my Imperial Oath trades into their nice Death Toucher. They can put it back on top of their library, but they still have to skip their next draw step to do that, so it doesn't even technically put them up a card. And I don't even think Goshintai of Hidden Cruelty is a very good draw for them at this point in the game, so I'm very happy with that exchange. I could go Tales of Master Shishiro here instead of Boseiju, I guess. Lets me start attacking them with Samurai. I feel like I want to make sure that I get a reach creature as quickly as possible, though. So let's set up the Boseiju to turn into a gigantic reach blocker. Double block the Kami if they send it in. Alright, they didn't have a trick last time, so they probably don't this time. Yeah, really showing off the power of Imperial Oath this game. Oh, that's brutal. That's so brutal for our opponents. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. That's one of the things that's just how Arena shows things. The way damage works in Magic the Gathering, it's technically the same way it works on Arena. Arena just makes it look a little weird. If you have damage on your card, that's not going to modify its toughness at all. It just has that much damage. You're just supposed to remember that in your head. This is a 2/2 with 1 damage on it. Arena goes ahead and gives it that red number so that you know this has been dealt 1 damage this turn. If you deal 1 more damage to this, you'll kill it. The problem with Arena showing it that way, instead of just putting like a red 1 on this somewhere and not modifying the toughness, is that it's really, really easy to assume, if you've never gotten got by it before, that that means that this is just 1 toughness until the end of turn. So if you have an effect like this that destroys a creature with 1 toughness, then you're like, okay, well, Arena says that that's 1 toughness, so I'm gonna activate this effect. The super rough thing is, though, this is still a 2 toughness creature, so the only 1 toughness creature on board was their 1/1, and if you say, yes, I'm going to do this and pay the cost, you have to do it and blow up your own creature. So that was a really brutal turn of events for our opponent. But what I was saying right before that is that even if that didn't happen and they didn't blow up their own Moth Rider Patrol, we did just get a tremendous deal out of Imperial Oath. We had it trade into 2 of their cards at that point, and still have a 2/2 left behind. So we traded into the Goshintai, then we traded into the Kami of Restless Shadows, and still had another Samurai left behind. So it's really showing off the power of that Imperial Oath that game. Here we are now in game 3. We don't have anything great in the early game, but the majority of our 2-mana spells are enchantments, so Commune with Spirits can help us get there, hopefully. Well, no enchantments here, but we still do get a card off of it at least. Now I am a little worried if our opponent is aggressive, and they are blue-red. The red decks in the format can definitely be aggressive. They start with a Containment Construct. Well, I can at least start with a 1/3 to block that construct all day long. The Containment Construct is going to be pretty brutal here because we are a deck with a low amount of removal, and there are a lot of cards that synergize with this really well. If they channel anything, that is discard it to use an effect, they can still play that card this turn. If they have the Modern Age, which is a saga that lets them draw a card and discard a card multiple turns in a row, they get to turn that into just letting them straight up draw a card multiple turns in a row. Containment Construct can do some brutal stuff here. We are on quite the slow hand. We're not going to be doing anything till next turn, at which point we'll be playing a tapped 4/5. Ooh, god, and now a Lizard Blade, so they can give their Flyer Double Strike or their Construct Double Strike, but I can still block and kill it. So yep, the Flyer's going to have Double Strike here. Flyers are definitely an issue for us. 2 damage a turn is not the absolute end of the world or anything. Well, now I have a Zeus's Many Journeys I can play instead of Emergence right now. I can only activate Satsuki as a sorcery, though, which is pretty brutal. Yeah, since I can only do that as a sorcery, let me just... We're just gonna tap 4/5 past the turn. Start attacking them with a 4/5 next turn. Harmonious Emergence is pretty bad against blue decks because they can have bounce spells that return a creature to my hand, which would just pretty much straight up kill my creature here. Gonna be Ninjutsu or something. They kill Satsuki, that's fine. Alright, 1-for-1 trade. I'll trade Satsuki for their combat trick. Combat trick removed. Combat trick is out of the way. Now I think I'm going to do Azusa's Many Journeys here, because I don't really want to tap my 4/5 to play a 4/4. Although it could be the thing. Post-combat, that's fine. Short Circuit, make it a 1/5. That's still pretty good. 1/5's fine. Not going to hit them very hard. Yeah, it's still an excellent blocker. They only have 2 cards left in their hand. I think we're in a decent position here. The fact that they made that a 1/5, though, I think I actually do just want to get a 4/4 Vigilance down then. So I am still threatening their life total hard as I can. We're still at 16 life here. We're just going to take 2 more damage next turn. They have a 1-mana removal spell for Samurai? Oh my god, they do. Well, so much for that. Killed their flyer. It's actually really good for us. Like, I take a big hit this turn, but their flyer's gone, and I have many other ways to try to block, like a 2/1 double strike on the ground, such as a 1/5. If they don't deal with the 1/5, that's already a great way to deal with that. So we get to Azusa's Many Journeys, play another land here, get an attack in, and we can Season of Renewal to pick up our Satsuki and our Sunblade Samurai. I can't play any of them right now, though. I mean, I guess I could play Satsuki and go Season Renewal Satsuki, but that involves tapping my 1/5, so I think I just pass. Season of Renewal during their end step for these two. Should be very good. Alright, if they want to spend a combat trick to kill my 1/5, that is pretty okay with me, because then they'll have spent both a Short Circuit and another removal spell to kill it, even if they leave the construct on the board. And then I can just Season of Renewal that and the Samurai instead of Satsuki. Flame Discharge. X is 1 + 2, so X is 3, so yeah, it dies in first strike, that's fine. That is fine with me. Just take 1 damage this turn. They play a 2/3 Menace. Menace is scary. That's actually pretty threatening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll have 8 mana. I won't be able to play both my blockers next turn, so the Menace hits me for 4, but I can block everything else. So that's kind of a big yikes if they draw well from here on. So return a creature, return an enchantment. Go to my turn, I gain 3 life at least. Ooh, and another season? Oh, if I can just survive these next, like, 2 attacks. They're so out of it. Send this in, hold up a season. Could even Sunblade Samurai just to gain 2 life if my life total gets that threatened here. But next turn I'll have a 3/3 blocker at the ready. I can Season... I guess I'm not going to Season yet. I'm just going to play the Samurai if I get another turn here. Alright. Pretty happy they didn't reconfigure here, so we just take 2 damage. That is A-okay. Drop a Scrapyard Steelbreaker? Okay. Yeah. Could have taken a couple more damage there. Pretty glad we did not. Because now is the turn we're going to have tons of blockers and the ability to Season of Renewal if my blockers start dying. Okay, so they didn't reconfigure because they wanted to slap that on the Steelbreaker, but they don't have the mana up to sacrifice anything to it yet anyway. So it will trade into my 4/5 if they block, which is fine by me. because we get rid of their highest power creature, their most threatening creature by far. Cool, we will hit for 4, then we'll play a Sunblade Samurai with a Season of Renewal up, and we've got tons of blockers now. Multiple Vigilant attackers to keep getting in there. Experimental Synthesizer is a very good draw for them. That gives them an expendable artifact to sacrifice to the Steelbreaker. Ooh, send in the Steelbreaker. They have 2 artifacts that they can sacrifice. If they sacrifice one, that goes to 5 power. Okay, so yeah, that was a great draw for them. I guess whichever creature I block with, they have to sacrifice something here. So I block with the 4/4. Force them to sack the egg to get it out of the way. I can't let this through where I'm just super dead. Alright, make them sacrifice the egg here, get one of these things out of the way. I guess I could have went for the double block, that might have been good. They can sack 2 things and make it 7 power. 7 power double strike, that would kill both my things, but then I have the Season of Renewal. I probably should have double blocked here. That was dumb of me. Yeah, that could cost me the game. A double block would have been really good there. Okay. On my turn, Tales of Master Seshiro. Does give vigilance to whatever I put the thing on, so I can give the likeness vigilance while doing this. And it's a 4/4, which forces them to sack something when they attack him with Steelbreaker, unless they trade into Construct immediately, in which case they don't have anything to sack to the Steelbreaker. That was a pretty wonderful draw to make up for that. Alright, so Construct is gone, which means that they do not have anything they can sacrifice to the Steelbreaker anymore. So I can block and trade and then Season of Renewal. Season right now, would I'd have 3 mana up. I put Blades on Samurai, that's not great for me. Oh my god, can you not? Played pretty poorly here, but those are some brutal draws to punish me for it. Get another egg to sacrifice. This egg picks up a Replication Specialist, and now they have a flyer, and I don't have reach. Wow. Don't know if there's a way to get punished too much harder than that. Kind of need to slam down some blockers here. Satsuki Samurai. If Satsuki dies, I get to pick up my my Saga, my 3/3 Saga. How do they kill a 5/6 here? 3, 4, 5, 6. They can block with like everything but the Specialist, but then I get it out of the way, which is good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can't kill it without blocking with Steelbreaker, so I think I do send it here. Alright. The Menace and the Flyer. And the Blades. They put the Blades on the Flyer, that's all they do, really. Blades onto the Flyer, hit for 6. We're down to 5. We die in 1 more attack. And they've got another blocker from the egg. They can play their Modern Age here. Oh my god. That's a good draw. That's a tremendously good draw. Destroy a flyer. That's exactly what we need here. We just anti-luck sacked our opponent. We just outlucked hardcore. They had some pretty great draws for a little bit there, but this one draw is like even better than everything they've drawn all game. That's just an absurdly good draw here. Alright. Yeah, we pretty far outlucked them here. Again, I played pretty poorly, so we almost got full punished for it. But we might be lucking our way into a victory anyway. Oh, reconfigure. Bold. Gotta fade into antiquity now. Because the way reconfigure works, even if I exile the octopus, they'll still have the blades to block with. But they will have to chump block with the blades. I think I want to make them chump block with the blades. I could also just exile the Modern Age. I could also just exile the blades themselves. Yeah, I'll just exile the blades. They have to chump block. Alright, they scoop them up. I played like poop. I didn't like that I played like poop. Give me the feel bads there. That one, the really big misplay was the ability to double block that double striking steel breaker there. Wish I saw that line a bit better, but we do get there in the end. We are 2-1. Heading into game number 4. Alright, here we are in game 4. Great start, multiple options of sagas to play early. If we draw a bunch of lands, many journeys with that additional land drop can get us to an early Tales of Master Sashiro, which could be cool. We've got some Season of Renewals to grind out that end game, and we are going to be against a green-white deck here, the mirror match. They're going to start with a Jukai Trainee. Drop a Zeus's Many Journeys here. A 3/3 is going to be more impactful than a 2/2. Because the 2/2 first strike can't do anything about the trainee thanks to its Bushido ability, getting +1/+1 when it blocks or becomes blocked. Not hit a land drop this turn, so we don't really get value off the Azusas, unfortunately. Want to scry into more lands now. That would have been the biggest argument to Era first, but... oh wow, that's a really rough choice. I think we have enough big, impactful late game, especially with double season, that I have to just ditch these for lands, but ditching a Boseiju for more lands feels real bad. Yeah, it looks like we were not going to hit a land even if I Arid first. I Arid and then Journeys. Terrarium from our opponent. They are definitely hitting their mana. They are green, white, and blue as well. They've got Terrarium fixing mana and Network Terminal fixing mana and ramping them. Jesus Christ, alright, we are not hitting lands. We are going to have to cycle this Samurai. Oh, are you going to counter this a Mirror Shell Crab? Okay, I was gonna be really sad if they countered that with Mirror Shell Crab. That's 3 mana. They can channel it to counter a spell or an activated ability, unless the player pays 3. So if we got Mirror Shell Crab there, we were just gonna be so out of the game due to our inability to draw lands early. Trade into the trainee, but I also just go to 21, and then I can attack back at them if they don't play a big blocker. They do play many big blockers at Imperial Oath. It is. Hopefully they're not in the draft pod where the bots just don't regard that card. I have had a Kamigawa quick draft where I've had 4 copies of Imperial Oath, which is absolutely absurd and should never happen, and is almost unbeatable, but that's just part of what happens when you draft against bots. It does happen against players every now and then. You'll get in a really weird draft pod, but I feel like situations like that happen too frequently in quick drafts. Wait, I think we saw one copy of Oath. We took the one copy we saw in the draft pod. But Imperial Oath is a card that gets stronger and stronger the more copies you have. So again, if you can get into that draft pod where the bots just pass you like 5 of them, you're going to have a nigh unbeatable deck. Cap Attack Wrecker is the mythic uncommon in the format. It is on par with Life of Chishiro Umezawa, honestly a little better. Ninjutsu card that lets you exile any artifact or enchantment when it hits your opponent. It is devastatingly powerful. Does just completely exile our 4/5 and exiles brutal against our deck with our Season of Renewals. I think I just play Tales of Master Sashiro, make our hand a 3/3 first strike, and then just pass. Because I don't have a good attack here because of the Samurai tokens. They can just triple block. I can first strike 1 away, and then they deal 4 damage to the hand. Network Terminal, grinding out a lot of value here, letting them draw a card, discard a card every turn. Puzzle Maker in the Sky, Flyers, our least favorite thing. And then 1 Goshintai of Hidden Cruelty. That is the black Goshintai in a green-blue-white deck, so they probably have more Goshintai in there. So I'm going to save this Fade into Antiquity to exile like a white Goshintai or a blue Goshintai, which would be more devastating against us right now. I think I just keep buffing my first strike, honestly. Don't have a lot of stuff to do here. We're just chilling, staring at each other. I will take the 1 damage return from Puzzle Maker, but our opponent's in a much better position to grind out a long game because of their Network Terminal plus Puzzle Maker. They get to scry 1, draw a card, and discard a card every single turn. Narika Yamazaki. If a Samurai Warrior attacks alone, they can recast an enchantment from their grave. Doesn't really do anything here. Scry to the top. Take our 1 damage. Touch the Spirit Realm. So now I have a Fade into Antiquity and a Touch the Spirit Realm. So I still have Touch the Spirit Realm to exile anything later, so I'm tempted to Fade here on the Death Touch and Goshintai so I can get an attack in with Seshiro. They could block with a Trainee and a 2/2. And if Satsuki ever dies, I can bring Seshiro back. I, of course, have Season of Renewal to do so as well. I think I exile the Goshintai to get in through the Death Touch. Yeah, all their trades for Seshiro would be 2-for-1 trades. I get to kill 2 things. Trump block with Attack Wrecker. Maybe it's a Season of Renewal on top of their deck and they want to put it back in their hand and then recast it off Puzzle Maker. That would be horrific for me if their top card of their deck is Season of Renewal. Then we get got. Alright, scry 1. Scry to the bottom. It's a Moon Snare Specialist. Okay. That's fine. Turn the hand here. We get to recast it and scry. This is pretty okay with me. I lose a couple +1/+1 counters, but whatever. I get to scry and set up my draws again. Feels valuable. Season of Renewal number 3. Alright. Let's go ahead and scry. There's Boseiju, that's a big draw here. Sunblade Samurai is also a fine draw, but I would rather play Boseiju first, and if I play Boseiju, I'm just going to shuffle away the Sunblade Samurai anyway. I guess it doesn't really matter. Put Boseiju up top. Could immediately gain the 2 life off this era, but I think I'd rather have Satsuki as a blocker. How do they kill Seshiro here? Gotta stack up 5 power, so they block with 2 2/2s and their 1/4, or they block with a 3/2 and a 2/2, or a 3/3 and a 2/2. I think I'm fine to attack again. Especially with triple season. Take the 5. They're down to 15, and we will pass the turn. Soon enough, I'll have a big reach blocker for the Puzzle Maker. And a gigantic reach creature to hopefully close out the game. Oh, tap the Puzzle Maker to the terminal here, rather than attacking with it. Instead of tapping the Terrarium. Alright, there is the white Goshintai. Pretty glad we got the black one off the board. That's going to keep giving them 1/1s to chump block with every single turn, so we are going to have to kill that eventually. And I guess we can right now, because Boseiju gets us the mana to do so. Land. Play a land. Send in Seshiro again. Probably chump with a 1/1, and then we play Touch the Spirit Realm. Cool. Get rid of their Goshintai of Shared Purpose. I'll have 3 blockers if I tap Satsuki here, and it makes it so Boseiju flips next turn. So I'm going to do that. And pass the turn. Behold the Unspeakable. That is a disgusting card. Another incredible saga. Very similar in power level to Boseiju reaches Skyward. Gives our whole board -2/-0 till end of turn. Next turn they're going to draw 4 cards. That is nuts here, and I've already used all my removal, so... But my 7/7 reach is going to be bigger than however big the Vision of the Unspeakable is, at least. So... Boseiju just being a big, chunky blocker should get us there, especially if we can hit Tamiyo's safekeepings. Then we'll be very safe. Do I have the mana to play this and hold up the seasons? I do. Alright. Pretty good. I don't have a great attack this turn because everything's weaker. We just play the Sunblade Samurai and pass. But yeah, opponent's about to draw 4 cards. Which kind of, I guess, just puts them even with our triple Season of Renewal hand, but... I hate that I don't have one of my safekeepings. If I had like one of my safekeepings, I'd feel pretty confident about this game, but I don't. So I don't, because if they have Fade into Antiquity, like exile removal, we're probably dying. Intercessor's Arrest, that works as well. I can't sacrifice the branch. Yep, we really just needed safekeepings in the top half of our deck, and we did not have them there. So now we're in a really bad spot because they get to keep getting in with this flyer and this next flyer. That's really absurd if they can ninjutsu it back to their hand, and also probably going to be even bigger than the branch. Or not the branch, than the Puzzle Maker. No attacks, alright. Cool with me. Do I have Tamiyo safekeepings in this deck? Yep, I do have 2 copies. I had to double check. I don't think I've drawn them too often. I actually don't know if I've drawn them at all, outside of maybe in opening hands that I mulliganed. So now they could block a Seshiro's Living Legacy with a 2/5 and a 3/3, and it's a 1-for-1 trade. Suppose that is why They don't attack here. Or they didn't attack here. They only have 13 cards left in their deck. I really need to hit another branch to not die to their flyers, though. Oh, they've got to have Season of Renewal if they just discarded a Kyodai. If they can resolve Kyodai, we're dead. We're out of removal. And they killed my branch before I got safekeepings. Because they do have all 5 colors of mana to give that +5/+5. Adds to their flying damage. Bearer of Memory. There's a Bank Buster. That's pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a card immediately. It could dig me to my next branch. Is 4 mana. Generous Visitor, that's kind of whatever at this point. They've got the Bearer of Memory as a mana sink. Yeah, we're just dead because we don't have branch. We're taking 4 damage in the sky minimum each turn if they don't dump mana into Bearer. It's pretty fine with me. Here's their Season of Renewal to pick up their Flying Bomb. Oh, not a Season of Renewal. And they're going for Imperial Oath instead. Alright. Doesn't speed up the clock on us, so we're not just straight dead. Oh, is it Sky Turtle plus Season of Renewal? That would definitely be game. Because Season of Renewal can pick up Sky Turtle plus another card, then the Sky Turtle can pick up the Season, and they can just keep doing it. Pick up the tech record to be rude as hell, but they very much have the game then. They can loop Sky Turtle and Season of Renewal and pick up all their giant flying bombs, and I have no more removal for the flyers. As I said before, that game just kind of entirely came down to we just needed to have a Tameo safekeeping in the top half of our library. We have 2 copies, but we couldn't protect our one big reach creature, so I guess we're dead. Sad way to end it there. 2-2 heading into Game 5. Here we are on the play in Game 5. Snapkeep here. Generous Visitor into Spirited Companion is super sweet. The awkward part is in order to have the white source up, I have to play Blossoming Sands turn 1, so it's going to be Blossoming Sands into Visitor plus Commune, and then play Spirited Companion. Playing against a red deck here. Probably Commune into another land. Boseiju is very tempting. But with only 2 mana in the hand right now, I don't think I can afford to take that. I guess I draw another card off Companion. The most impactful card in the whole deck. I'm only 2 mana away. Still play around with Visitor Companion for a moment. I'm gonna get bold with it. I have the safekeeping for the branch of Boseiju as well. Goodbye, Generous Visitor. Alright, Spirited Companion, draw a card. Ooh, we hit the land immediately. I'm still going to Spirited Companion before I play it. I look like we're digging, and there we go, 4 lands, and we should be in a great position now. Cameo Safekeeping will be available by the time this flips, because we don't have to hold the 1 mana up until 2 turns after we cast this, and by that time we'll have picked up 2 extra forests from Boseiju. This should be wonderful. Ooh, bonus Boseiju. feeling very, very good this game. Can't attack into a 2/2 first striker, not that I can block it well. But I definitely can't attack in. Alright, take 2. Scrapyard Steelbreaker. I think I would rather... Well, now it's tempting. I was going to say, I think I would rather just Emergence here and attack with a 4/5. But now I could play Naturalist plus Boseiju. Set those up for the future. And then I still Emergence next turn while holding up Safekeeping? Yeah. Naturalist actually changes this line by reducing the Boseiju cost. If it weren't for Naturalist there, I would have just slam dunked Harmonious Emergence. We are really locked in for the late game here. We're about to have some 6/6s. With Safekeeping and Season of Renewal. Black-red, most of their removal will put them in the grave where we can actually Season of Renewal instead of just locking them up on board or anything like that. And they're going to scoop them up. They already see the writing on the wall. They just don't have anything to hand to deal with 2 6/6s minimum. And they know that we have 3 lands revealed. So if they don't have removal in hand, they know that next turn I'm going to have a 6/6. The turn after that I play my next land and then I have a 7/7. Turn after that I play my next land and I have 2 8/8s with reach. And yeah, apparently they can't deal with that alone, and we had even more stuff to play around with there. So brutal game for our opponent. We are going to be 3-2 heading into round number 6. Here we go, round 6. Turn 1 Visitor, turn 2 Spirited Companion for real this time. Snap Keep. Mountain from our opponent. Kumano faces Kakazan. That is not a Voltage Surge, so Generous Visitor remains. We'll slap for 2 and pass the turn. We've got an Imperial Oath for the late game now, and a Sunblade Samurai if I don't draw any more lands. Turn that into a Plains. Another Kumano faces Kakazan. Good lord. Am I against Mono Red Burn? Rabbit Battery? I literally am. This is just a standard deck. This is absurd for a draft. Good gravy. Good thing our hand is decent, because oh my god. I don't think I can rely on leaving Bearer of Memory around for the late game, so I think I'm just going to attack for 4 and take the Bearer of Memory trade here. It's not a game where it looks like I can wait until I have 6 mana to play around with. By holding up Bearer of Memory, I have a blocker even if they reconfigure the battery over. It's +1/+1 haste, right? Yeah. So if I'd left any other blocker, they could just move the battery and I wouldn't have a block here. But 100% need to go for the block here. Our deck is, again, just trying to survive to the late game. No attacks, alright. Very good work done by the Bearer of Memory. If I exile the Rabbit Battery, then they just have 2 2/2s, and that's it. I also just plan on getting to Imperial Oath, and then I have plenty of 2/2s to block all their stuff. Yeah, I might just be on past the turn here. Imperial Oath should be a really big way to stabilize. Could even touch the Spirit Realm and get fancy, exiling my own Spirited Companion. Okay, that's awkward. I would love to do this to Spirited Companion, but I think just doing it to Bearer of Memory is fine too. Counter the removal spell. It doesn't come back to the end step though. If it came back immediately, I would probably touch the Spirit Realm Bearer for sure. But touch the Spirit Realm, it's like I either save my 3/2 or I kill one of their things. Those are both pretty equivalent.
I guess the thing is, this is the best time to spend the mana, because next turn I'm going to spend 5 mana making a 4/4. Turn after I'm going to spend 6 on making a bunch of 2/2s. Yeah, I guess I do this. We need to just leave all of our creatures out for the early game, because we can definitely win the late game with the quality of late game plays in our deck. Another Sunblade Samurai. Well, now I kind of wish I channeled that first one. Although I guess if I did channel the first one, then I wouldn't have had this one on top. I would have shuffled my deck. Play it real safe? Play it real safe. I'm not going to hit here. Because Rabbit Battery gives anything they play haste. I might need to hold up a double block. They can give Heiko haste, but then they can't recast any artifacts from grave because they won't have the mana up to do so. Alright, show me the burn spell here. Voltage Surge the Samurai post-combat. And I just play another one. Oh, this might have been the bluff. Oh, it was just straight up the bluff. We take those. Boseiju guarantees an Imperial Oath next turn. But probably a little safer to just play another Samurai. Immediately get a nice Vigilant creature so I can keep attacking them and having the blockers up. Unconfigure the battery. Attack both? Well, show me the trick. Was it like +2/+0 to the field or something like that? That I just forgot exists? Yeah, I mean, I've got Imperial Oath coming up. Do what you're gonna do. 2 damage to all my creatures or something? Nope, just destroy one of them and draw a card. Feels like we're in a great spot, and they're gonna scoop them up. They are over it. We are about to hit for 7 and all of that. So we are now 4-2, heading into game number 7. Beautiful hand here. Visitor into Journeys. Get a bonus land to maybe even turn 3 Boseiju if I hit another mana. That would be nuts. Opponent takes a mulligan. They are on the play with a red deck, though. Now I could Visitor into Naturalist instead, which is definitely turn 3 Boseiju. Unless they kill Naturalist. But I don't need to draw land to turn 3 Boseiju that way. So let's see, if I draw land... Okay, I was going to say, if I draw land, I'll probably just Journeys here. Although, if I Naturalist and they don't kill it... Just play Boseiju next turn, but then I have a lifelink on board to start hitting them with. But if they do kill this, then I don't Boseiju. Yeah. They can't, like, kill one of my land drops, so I'm going to go for the Azusa's many Journeys first, because there's no way for them to stop me from turn 3 Boseijuing now. Alright, I go Shintai, that's a-okay. We're going to gain some life here to counteract that. Life drain, life loss, damaging, whatever you call it. Alright, 2 great sagas on board. Season of Renewal for the late game. We get to play 2 blockers next turn. Seems like a tremendously good start for us. If our opponent has a bunch of exile and pacifism style removal in white, we could have some problems. Outside of that, things are looking pretty good for us. So Azusa has flipped. I can Naturalist and Bearer even if I play a tap land this turn, so I will do that. Get my next white source. And we have quite the board state here, which is about to include a 6/6 reach as well. There's a 2/1 Aki Ember Keeper. Gunblade Samurai getting channeled into a Plains. Probably trying to hit the mana for an Imperial Oath or something like that. Okay, I've got the Season of Renewal in hand, so I'm relatively happy with whatever kind of double block sort of trades they want to go for. They can't go for any trades unless they do double block. Okay, attack like this. Not holding up Season of Renewal this way, but I can buff the Naturalist and kill both their creatures. And if they just single block and don't realize Bearer's ability, that's going to be pretty bad for them. Alright, excellent turn for us. And they're just going to scoop them up there. We are now 5-2, moving on to round 8. Big recovery from the 2 early losses this draft. Here we are now. Opponent is going first. If I hit one land, we have that disgusting turn 3 Boseiju again. Visitor into Journeys into Boseiju. Just hoping to hit another land here. But we are definitely keeping. Opponent takes a mulligan on the play. That's 2 mulligans, I think, down to 5-card hand to start it off. And they're going to start with a Plains here. We even have a Tamiyo's Safekeeping. If I get the mana to drop this Boseiju, we'll also have the protection for it. It's great against white because a lot of their removal is exile and pacifism style. They are blue-white with a Gonjo Exemplar turn 2. I do have another land to guarantee Boseiju here. We just go Azusas into my tap land into Boseiju next turn, and that is going to be wonderful. Don't really have an attack with Visitor because I don't exactly want to trade it into their 2-1 when I can get even more counters off of it in the future. Touch the Spirit Realm. Well, there goes my Generous Visitor anyway, but I think it's better to trade it into a Touch the Spirit Realm than trade it into their 2-1. So I'm perfectly happy with that. And let's drop Boseiju, pick up our forests, and pass the turn. Now that's a Touch the Spirit Realm that can't be used on a branch of Boseiju later. Born to Drive on the Exemplar gets +1/+1 for each creature they control, so they are going all in on this Exemplar. A single 3/2 can block that, so we're about to have a 3/3 and a 3/2 on the board, so I'm pretty sure that's going to play pretty well for us, that they've got this Exemplar kind of locked down there. I could Satsuki here. I'd rather hold up Safekeeping, though, so we'll go for Commune with Spirits instead. Grab another branch. Another Boseiju reaches skyward. Really have the late game on lock here with some gigantic branches that they can't even get through with flyers. Alright, Network Disrupt, I will resolve that. Now that they have another creature, though, the Exemplar does attack as a 4 toughness block, 4 toughness attacker, which means I can't block and kill it here, so we just take the damage. Could have went for Hexproof to just stop them from attacking this turn, but I think it's better to save the Safekeepings for once my Boseiju flips, which is literally next turn. Alright, flip the Boseiju. Drop a land. We're going to play another here. So I'm going to play another first. That way, if they block the likeness, I untap some lands. And because I just want to Safekeeping anyway, I should have played this before I played my land for turn. I do have the mana for Safekeeping, even if I didn't play land for turn yet, but not that big of a deal. Not really a punt or anything, just a sloppy line, just a lazy line. Alright, send in for 6, pass the turn. If they have 2 removal spells for branch, I guess they get us, but they only have 3 mana, so that'd be pretty unlikely. Send in the Exemplar, snap block, and then Safekeeping whatever they try to do. Light the way, counter on it on tap, sure. It's a 1-for-1 trade right now. Let's go Safekeeping. They have the 2 mana counterspell. There is a counterspell for double blue. They have to tap an artifact to cast it. But even if they have that counterspell, we trade into the Exemplar, and it looks like they don't have the counterspell. So we are going to find the victory there, and we're going to be 6-2, turning this 3-2 run into a run with contention at just getting the Decathlon token right off the bat. So 6-2, heading into the final boss. We win this one, we get that Decathlon token, we lose, and we were so close to greatness. See how it all goes as we head into the final battle. Here we are for the final boss, the final battle. This is as risky a hand as you could have showed me here. We do have more green sources than anything else in the deck. We have 10 of them. If I hit a green source, I feel like I win. But I'm on the play. There's no way that we know we can do that. 10 green sources and like 30 cards, 1 out of 3 every draw step. Oh, I have to hit 2 of them if they kill my naturalist. I feel like I have to mulligan here. Because if my opponent's another aggressive like red-black deck, we're super dead. They just voltage surge naturalist and then I don't hit a green source. This is so close. It's so absurd with the double branch. Is this how I want to go 6-2 into 6-3? Alright, this is a lot more reasonable. I even get rid of Samurai, probably. Actually, Season of Renewal, because it's such a late game play. We just commune turn 1. Yeah, no, this also just dies to like red-black. I believe our opponent just straight kept their opener. Not ideal for us. They've got a full 7. Drop Naturalist turn 2 now. Yep, that's what I'm missing here is early game plays. So we will take the Naturalist and run with it. Playing against a white deck. Now we've got some removal with Fade into Antiquity. Go Shintai of Boundless Vigor. I will probably get faded over here. Because that does get bigger and bigger throughout the game, which is threatening. And next turn I'm going to want to tap out for one of these. Probably Tails first, to give the Naturalist +1/+1 Vigilance here could be big. Not really against Bearer of Memory, because it'll still just trade in if that happens. So I guess I play Samurai instead. First, and then pass. Another Go Shintai of Boundless Vigor. Well, that's pretty good for our opponent. If we didn't kill the first one, that would have just been stuck in their hand forever. That's awkward for us. That plays really well for my opponent, pretty poorly for me. Alright, Tales of Master Seshiro. Force a... I guess they're already forced into a double block to trade. You got a 1-mana trick here? Nope. Just a double block. Do they have 3 Go Shintai in their hand? Is that what's going on? Yeah, I should have put the counter on Naturalist there. That was loose. If they play a 3rd Go Shintai, I'm going to lose it. 3rd Go Shintai Boundless Vigor? That would be absolutely hilarious. Maybe it's just Season of Renewals. Pick these up later. Sunblade Samurai for a land? Sure. Sure. There's a Tamio's Safekeeping for us. I think I'm going to hold that for the tails. Let's drop an Era of Enlightenment. Try into a Season of Renewal for our Samurai and our tails or something, which is a fine scry. Actually, maybe I should keep the land so that I can cast them if Naturalist dies. I'm not going to trade Naturalist into the Bamboo Grove Archer, and I'm not going to spend Safekeeping when I can use it on my Tales of Master Seshiro. Imperial Oath. Alright, so channeling to the mana for the Oath, which is pretty good here. Send in with the 5/5. They block with 3 2/2s by safekeeping to kill 2 of them without losing a creature. Also, just let the trade happen and then Season of Renewal. I feel like I prefer safekeeping here. Ooh, this is much better block. Now I get to kill the 3/3 and a 2/2. I will happily do. So do this, holding up Season of Renewal if they kill something during their turn. The awkward part is most of their kill spells will exile. Let's flip the Era. Because Satsuki's not really blocking anyway. And then pass the turn. Goshintai of Shared Purpose. It's going to be infinite chump blockers. Bearer of Memory for only 2 mana. It's cool. Keep sending the big vigilant threats. They can block with 2 2/2s and the 1/3 Goshintai to kill it, or all their 2/2s and 1/1s. How do they kill the hand? Block with a 1/3 and a 1/1, I first strike that away. Block with a 1/3 and a 2/2, I first strike the 2/2, it lives. They'd have to block this with like 3 things to kill it as well. And for Jukai Naturalist, they could double block with 2 2/2, so that attack is bad, but I think the Sagas are solid attacks. Especially with the Satsuki on board and Season of Renewal in hand. They are going to go for the triple block on Seshiro's Living Legacy. Sure, clear all of that off the board. Season of Renewal in the end step here, and recast Tails next turn. Yep. Please don't get rid of Naturalist. Please don't get rid of Naturalist. I can't actually recast anything if you do. They were eyeballing that Naturalist there. Okay, Season of Renewal for their green Goshintai and their Bamboo Grove Archer. That's so brutal that they just had the second in hand, because I exiled the first one, so I could have stopped it from Season of Renewal, but now they have both Goshintai out here, which is where things get out of hand real quickly. 2 1/1s every turn, 2 +1/+1 counters every turn. Gonna be bad. Choose the 1/1s here. Bamboo Grove Archer, that does not really do anything. They have no way to kill a 3/3 first strike. If I have a 4/4 Vigilance, their only way to kill it would involve them losing their Goshintais. Yeah, both their Goshintai. So we go Tails, buff the Naturalist. The only way they kill that is blocking with everything. The only way they kill the hand is blocking it with everything. So we just double up the Tails and get a great attack in here. But they probably just double chump, but we still gain a ton of life. Okay, they just single chump. Back to 30. We pretty desperately need to hit our other removal spell for these Goshintai. Or they are going to take over the game, especially with an Oath alongside them, making 1,000,000 blockers. One of the top 2 to the bottom. There's a Boseiju reaches skyward. It's pretty big here. We definitely have not drawn lands for a while, so grabbing a couple forests is good. Like Boseiju into Bearer of Memory here. Kill Seshiro's Living Legacy by blocking with 3 2/2s. Just kill 2 of them. The double Goshintai is so bad for me. I just need to draw another removal to clear this out of here, or we're not getting through all this stuff. Alright, get some lands out of the way, thin the deck towards our potential 1 exile removal spell that's in there. We want to speed up the saga by tapping Satsuki here. Gonna have to clear out these 2/2s at some point for my other stuff to be able to get in. Do I just send in Seshiro then? Trade it off into 2/2/2s? I think I do. Oseiju will flip next turn. We have 2 other Season of Renewals. Okay, clear out 3 1/1s and a 2/2 instead. It's A-okay with me. Get a bunch of stuff out of the way. The Bank Buster from our opponent for a ton of card draw. They have a million blockers, tons of card draw. Just make their board massive here. With a double Goshintai. Okay, just another land for us off the top. Got the 6 mana to start putting counters on one of my creatures. It's only super valuable when I'm attacking. I think I cast this Sunblade Samurai and pass the turn. Again, this is just a matchup where our lack of removal is getting us pretty hard. We could just clear out this Goshintai of Shared Purpose. We would have had them dead a long time ago, but we just can't get anything done until we get that out of here. And we can't really get that out of here. Oh no, please don't have a 3rd shrine. They've got a 3rd shrine, we've lost. Oh, a backup? Okay, I guess we lose. Even if we had the removal for this one, they can just make another one. A frustrating way to end it. Just block with the green Goshintai here. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, that's a big punt from our opponent. That's a huge punt from our opponent. We might still be in it. We kill all those and don't lose our branch. Huge punt from our opponent. Not seeing the Bearer of Memory there. We maintain the branch and pass the turn. Cleared out a ton of stuff. We're not like in the lead, but we're still remotely in the game, I guess. Bamboo Grove Archer. You're gonna have to block with 10 toughness to kill branch now. That makes that pretty easy. 6 from the double Archer, plus 4 from a bunch of 1/1s. Unfortunate. I guess if I hit a safekeeping, I could still be in this. I do have another one of those. Or a Season of Renewal, I've got 2 more of those. Kill 2 archers and 4 1/1s. God dang it. Just doesn't matter. So 8. Activate Bearer once. Nothing else can attack in because they have a 7/7 green Goshintai. I guess it just doesn't matter. We gotta pass. Sick. They got a Season of Renewal before us here. Bearer of Memory comes onto the board. And they pass turn, getting 2 more 1/1s, making their green Goshintai even bigger. I should probably start juicing up the white one. Nope, still just juicing up the green one. There's a Season of Renewal. Three mana, pick up Branch, and I have no creatures engraved to pick up with this. So I just pick up Branch. I guess I send in Sunblade Samurai. I could send in Branch Satsuki, get 1 damage with Satsuki, or if they kill Satsuki, I get to pick up a Saga. And then pick up Satsuki when she's gonna die. Let us kill the green Goshintai now, that's something. Makes it so they only get 1/1/1 a turn. Oh my god, alright, Branch is dead. Branch is dead. Okay. If I miscounted here, this is going to be really bad, but I think I have enough to go Season, replay Branch, replay Satsuki, next turn, tap Satsuki to flip Branch. Oh my god, okay, so we're going to kill this. And then 1 damage to play around with, so we just kill 1/1/1 here. Kill the 9/9 and a 1/1. And let Satsuki die. Pick up Tales of Master Seshiro. There's Branch of Boseiju just making its way downtown. Okay. Boseiju. One, two, three. To play Boseiju, get 2 forests. Play a forest. 3 mana to Season of Renewal, and I still have the mana to replay Satsuki. That is accurate. Also keep this to recast this Boseiju again later, but then this is going to take longer to flip instead of flipping next turn. I think I just want to make sure this flips next turn. Creature, enchantment. We're doing things. We're doing stuff and things, doing what we can here. I feel like I'm still supposed to play around flyers for my opponent. I don't think a 3/3 blocker is too important here yet. Alright, they only get 1/1/1 every turn now, unless they have a 3rd green Goshintai. Alright, Sunblade Samurai. Maybe a Season of Renewal in my end step. Plan. There's a Tamiyo safekeeping for this Boseiju. Let's go. Let's go. That's a huge one. Flip this thing. Actually, probably should have played Tails first and gotten a counter on something else. Getting a little greedy, wanting to put all the counters on the Branch. Yeah, I should have just spread the counters around, spread the love around a little bit. At this point, I'm just going full greed. Next turn I can tap Satsuki, so this is a haste, and the Branch is ready. Safekeeping when they go for a big block. They have instant speed removal. They can kill the Branch during their end step because I am going to tap out for Bearer of Memory. Show me the instant speed removal for Branch. For 1 white mana. Okay, they don't have it. Generous Visitor now. 1 mana for safekeeping. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't have enough to Bearer of Memory twice, which means that I have 5 mana to do whatever I want with. So I can just go Visitor here. 4 mana left now. I need 1 for safekeeping. I could Visitor and then play Archer to put another counter on the branch. Alright, yeah, I mean, if they play a flyer, I've got reach creatures. So no longer holding up the Bamboo Grove Archer's ability to kill something. Whoops, that's not the one. Satsuki's the one. Get that ready to be a creature. I have a 15/15 with a safekeeping. It's going to be a 16/16. And then this is going to clear out a ton of their board, and then the rest of the field gets to start doing stuff. Oh no. Oh no. Trample? I'm dead. I have died IRL. That was such a lucky game there. I can't believe we outgrinded the quadruple Goshintai deck. That was a really nice deck from our opponent. Double Oath, double green Goshintai, double white Goshintai. They had both on the board. They were getting 2 1/1s and 2 +1/+1 counters every single turn, and we still managed to get there with just gigantic branches of Boseiju. Yeah, their only other option there really was to like block with 15 power and then get Tameo safekeeping. Block with 16 power and get safekeeping, lose their whole board, and I keep my entire board, then I attack for lethal next turn. I can't believe we made it there. I was certain that was a losing matchup. That deck from our opponent was very nice, and it played into our deck's weaknesses of the lack of removal. Because you really need to be able to stop these Goshintais from popping off, or they will just grind out the game. But huge work done from Branch of Boseiju, and the somewhat filler Bearer of Memory being absolutely pivotal to that victory. We were not going to get anywhere without it. 7-2, turning that 3-2 start into a 7-2 finish. Nice long draft today. Got to play as many games as possible, but that is going to be one and done. Our first entry into the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty bot draft is going to be our victory. Absolutely loved this format. So many cool archetypes. Great aggressive decks, great grindy decks like the one that we played today, and everything in between. Didn't get to see anybody running the blue-black ninjutsu stuff, but we saw a real nice black-red aggro deck, tons of great enchantment builds, and a little bit of samurais in the middle there, some of the red-white samurai stuff going on. So really cool format, highly recommend it. And for the Arena Decathlon event, it only costs 2,000 gold to play. Granted, it is a phantom draft, you don't get to keep anything you play, but super sweet format. And real happy to get the 7-win run here, but I guess that means I don't have to play any more Kamigawa Neon Dynasty draft, which is a little sad because, again, I love the format so much, but they will be doing Kamigawa Neon Dynasty flashback drafts at the start of February, so we'll be playing some more premier drafts of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty soon enough anyway, and we're now 7 for 7 on Decathlon tokens. Let's go. Just need to grab that Explorer Decathlon token, and then there will be 2 more Decathlon events coming in a couple days. Those will be the final 2, which is going to be an Omniscience bot draft where you can cast everything for free, and the draft is going to be cards from like every set on Arena. That's going to be absolutely wild. And the final constructed format will be only the newest standard sets. So Dominar United, Brothers War, and some other set. It's like only 3 or 4 sets. It's called On the Edge or something. So that's going to be a really weird constructed format. But yeah, that's going to end today's video. We got plenty of Arena Decathlon stuff on the horizon. If you enjoyed this video, you'd like to see the rest of that stuff, you can like, comment, subscribe to let the algorithm know to send you those videos in your recommended feeds. You can hang out with me in real time on the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, where I am going to be streaming all of my traditional Explorer attempts. I do like to have the Twitch chat keep me company when I have to play constructed formats. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so at the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.